Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the tech panel breakout discussion about the digital transformation, the drivers last year, now, and in the future. I have the pleasure of hosting some exquisite panelists today in alphabetical order. Emilia Burzyńska, GBS and IT Shared Services Leader for Central Europe, Procter & Gamble. Michał Kopyt, Partner, Advisory and Technology Leader at EY. Andrzej, Pacek, Head of NatWest Poland Services. And Wojtek, Ptak, the CTO of Talent Alpha. My name is Maciej Borkowski. I am the Chief Risk Officer at Credit Suisse Poland and Vice President at ABSL, responsible for the Procter region and as well the IT. I suggest we dig right into it. Many of us may have seen a popular meme which got viral over the last couple of months on the internet. It was asking the famous question, who is driving the digital transformation in your company? The possible answers were your CIO, your CTO, but somebody handwritten an additional answer, which was COVID-19. Jokes aside, 60% of our member companies in Poland declare that they are already on their digital transformation journey. More than 32 declare that they are not there yet, but do have plans to implement them shortly. Before we dig deep into the topic, I suggest we set the stage clear by simply defining how do we understand digital transformation. And that's a question to every single of the panelists. Emilia, if we may start with you, please.
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. In Procter & Gamble, digital transformation is at full speed. We have started this over the past years, and it's an essential part of our company strategy. We want to drive digital transformation to better serve our boss. And you may wonder, okay, boss. For us, the boss is the consumer. So we consider digital transformation as the way to better serve and delight our consumers, starting with the simple definition. But if you think further, what are the aspects that digital transformation touches? It starts all over the place. So it's starting from the production, when we leverage digital transformation to optimize our production processes by leveraging RPA, machine learning, augmented reality, and the logistics and distribution, when we manage to absorb different insights that are essential to drive proper logistics and distribution by leveraging the cloud-based platforms, BI solutions, and many others. Finishing with the consumer engagement, when we want to be able to follow the trends, to be able to communicate to the consumers with our product and brands. But digital transformation for me doesn't end with the consumer engagement. It's even moving further and it's embedded into the product. So if you think, as an example, I'm coming from the FMCG company. We produce a lot of different goods that hopefully are each of your houses. But let me share the example of the Oral-B toothbrush that's based on the consumer insights we are getting. The consumer wants to properly protect and better effectively manage the teeth protection. And with that, we introduced the Oral-B toothbrush. If you think about how it evolved, starting from manual toothbrush, moving to the electronic toothbrush, now being then even a medical standard, because what we introduced with the Oral-B Genius, we introduced the IoT device that is embedded into the product that helps to gather all of the essential elements that later on can be shared with the dentist, thanks to which you can set up a consultation with the dentist, etc. So to summarize, digital transformation is an essential part of the company's strategy, and it's evolving as we speak.
Thank you, Emilia. Michał, what would be the consultant's view on digital transformation?
Actually, very similar to Emilia's, especially since I was kind of living and breathing digital transformations for roughly 10 years on the customer side before joining the consulting firm. So for me, it's an ongoing process, which is actually allowing our customers, but also us at UI, it's ongoing on our side as well, to really use the technology, which is changing every day at a pace which is making sure that our business is running faster. And obviously, as Emilia said, customers at the end of the day are beneficiaries of it. But initially, digital transformation started with making sure that processes flow more smoothly. Then it got to be much more visible for the customers because, again, with IoT and everything which we see right now, including what we're doing right now, so communicating using the cloud and using digital, we are getting to a point where it's just normal. It's a process which is as typical for any company as accounting, as cyber, whatever you name it, any process in your company. And basically, that's where we're getting to. So a digital transformation is making sure that any company in any industry is getting to a point where it's absolutely normal for them to think digital and be able to survive disruptions like COVID-19, which we just saw. Hopefully we are in this position. If not, this transformation is either ongoing or needs to start as we speak.
Thanks, Michał. Andrzej, the financial services industry, any different views on DT?
So maybe I will share my view. I'm not going to give you financial institution definition, but indeed transformation by definition is process. So here I agree completely, Michał. So let me share my definition of done to explain expected outcome of this transformation. So in my view, digital business is digital business that embrace digital tech natively at the design stage of the business model, customer interactions, and support processes. As long as we mimic labor-intensive or manual processes onto digital platforms, but we are not thinking digitally, I don't believe we are a digital company yet. And as long as we don't think that way, digital first, we are not digitally transformed yet. However, at the moment, we all experience digital transformation across multiple industries, and I'm pretty sure we will touch on it later.
Thanks. Wojtek, your views?
Yeah, so it's a panel discussion, so I would have to say thankfully I a bit disagree. I think listening to my friends, I was having this question in my head: what it was and what it will be, and what it will be probably no one of us can expect. One thing I'm definitely on 100% with everyone. Every company is at the moment an IT company. So whether you are a hospital, a government, a bank, or an airport, you're IT. So everything is digital, true. But I would go much further because it's so much more than only just data and big data and AI, which is also my background. So I was also looking at very closely at some of the transformations in the past. But one thing that really opened my eyes was World Economic Forum report from 2 years past called The Future of Work. And it predicted that digital transformation is something much, much more. Because if we apply digital, whatever we think of it, to our professional life, you get an interesting mix. And traditional companies think of the way they work in a very traditional way. First of all, they're being run by managers who weren't digital, and they were raised, born, raised, and even studied in non-digital world. So they don't know what is really digital. And I think COVID will show that the way we work remotely, the way we have to manage the teams remotely. I think we'll come back to that. It's a new challenge. But there was one interesting thing that came out straight off this report. If you apply digital rules to our professional lives, it's very easy that traditional roles will disappear What counts is being the skills and being apply them in a very ever-changing scenarios. And the key and crucial skill going forward will be able to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And when I think about digital transformation, I think about applying the same on the scale of the company, not personal. And if you think in such a way, you're coming to a very interesting conclusion. The company that can learn, unlearn, and relearn, so it can super quickly adapt. So I think after COVID, a digital transformation will be something totally different than it was so far.
You're in the human resources business, and you're telling me that digital transformation starts from at the individual level, is it?
As I say, if you're looking at the company as a collection of individuals, whether it's a couple of dozens or a couple of dozens of thousands, we're people, and we build the company, and that's called organization, right? And I think what is going to change is we're going to build businesses in the same way we build cloud services, which is so much easier parallel for us to think about, that you plug and play. So for instance, as you know, what changed over last 10, 15 years, and I was thankful that I could see that from instead of having a one big, huge data center, now we're having our computers somewhere. And the next step, someone else is taking care of them, et cetera, et cetera. And then you've got the whole building blocks of your systems constructed of APIs that you plug and play, connect by plug and play rules, right? And I'm thinking it's going to be exactly the same when it comes to the teams and HR, and you will have just projects possibly, and you will be able to plug and play the whole teams to just do their job.
Well, you're jumping a little bit ahead because we are about to discuss the future at a little later part of this. So let's just get back. All right, what were the drivers for digital transformation last year, and what's driving digital transformation nowadays? Has it changed due to the pandemic? Maybe we start with Michał.
It obviously accelerated, and all of us see where we are post-COVID or in the middle of the COVID times. Before we started the panel, I actually took a step back and looked at where we would be if COVID started 15 years ago. And I was just staggered. I don't know if you guys realize, cell phones at all. First iPhone was introduced in 2007. Skype was non-existent, so we wouldn't be able to have any of those conversations in the way we're doing right now. We only would be able to talk on the phones and not really connect as we are doing this right now. Only 8 million of users worldwide were using broadband internet, which obviously means that the disruption towards what we're facing right now would be completely different. So I kind of echo what was said before, that COVID will change us into in ways which we cannot really foresee right now. What it will probably accelerate very strongly, and that's where the transformation will change, is in terms of resilience. So definitely companies will be looking for solutions which are more resilient in terms of spreading out the risk and ensuring that we don't have this one data center which might be kind of unavailable, but also the plug and play functionalities, the plug and play options which we just discussed. So using multiple toolboxes to make sure that we very quickly can get to a point where new solution is available will accelerate cloud adoption, and it will accelerate by 100 times. I mean, what we're seeing right now with the cloud proof amazing, and it will continue going forward. And just to finish, this will definitely impact every one of us. I really love the idea of learning and relearning. I wasn't thinking about this in this manner, but that's exactly what will happen. All of the IT and non-IT people right now who are doing any process within our companies will have to be seeing new tools, new ideas almost daily, and they need to be ready for it. This probably will be the largest change we're facing.
Okay, so if I may paraphrase, you claim that the drivers have not changed over the last year, but COVID has been a definite accelerator in order to speed up on the path of digital transformation.
Yes, no more convincing.
I see Emilia. I see Wojtek.
Yes.
Agreement?
No, I fully agree with Michał. So let me maybe provide the perspective. I fully agree that the COVID definitely accelerated, and this is under no discussion. If you think about, I also agree with Wojtek when he mentioned that technology as well is disrupting every aspect of consumer life. I'm bringing consumer, but this is all of us, as you said. I am also a mother of 2 boys, and technology is now everywhere. So school has speed up the progression on building the digital capabilities as we speak. And I think all of the parents has realized that, how the progression has progressed over the couple of weeks. But as mentioned, the technology is playing a critical role, and with particularly, if I think about my company, when we are here to protect our people and serve our consumers, I see that the COVID has mainly changed the way we look at certain things, and I see the 3 aspects when it has been visible. So already mentioned by Michał, the remote working and collaboration. I think today we have how we call it knowledge workers to be enabled to work remotely from home. So we as a company, we introduced the collaboration tools and cloud-based platforms ahead of COVID. So we are happy that we were able to respond to these needs and enable each of the employee to continue the business and to work despite the fact not being in the office. And the adoption of it has been also quite high, and I think enabled to realize a lot of employees how many things can be done virtually. So I would also see that if I look in the past, when I as IT leader, I was advocating, I was evangelist of the cloud-based solution collaboration platform. I couldn't believe how fast we adopted those things because of the COVID, right? Another thing is about data centricity, and also to what Michał, I think, was referring about high resilience, and ability to absorb a lot of different data. And if I looked again from consumer perspective, we as a company, we want to understand how the trends of the consumers are changing, what are the influencing factors. And for that, we are leveraging a lot of different BI, cloud-based solution, machine learning algorithms to help us to provide as soon as possible, like real-time data to with the insights that can be later on made into actions. So ability to absorb this data in agile way, in very fast analytical way has never been critical. And the third element I would see, it would be this consumer engagement. Also, since the consumer habits are changing, we want to move from mass media marketing to the much more one-to-one media reaching to our consumers. And with that, we also believe that this area will evolve even stronger. As we don't want to overwhelm our consumers with a lot of communication, we want to be exactly at where they are shopping. We want to provide exactly the communication when they want to get the communication from. So these are the ways. We need to find the new ways of reaching the consumers. So exactly, the COVID just was an interruption, but it's a great also opportunity for us to look at the different ways how we can engage with the consumers, how we can improve the consumer experience. And this is where I can give an example on the recent initiative we launched due to COVID, or thanks to COVID, I would also say, that we were able to fill the gap with our Pampers brand, where we were supporting the mom in pregnancy, where they were about to start the childbirth, the prenatal school, and were not able to do it because of the COVID, right? So we came up with the platform that enable and fill this gap to provide the right experience with the tutorial, the meetings, and it was just a new way of engagement, right? It was just triggered because of the fact that the institutions that were supposed to provide it were not able because they were closed. So those were the three drivers and factors I would see that we will continuously focus on.
Thanks. I see that I was naive in preparing for this session because I meant to ask you about the past and the present, but talking to IT enthusiasts like you, you are only looking forward, I see. So let me.
I can add to that point, Maciej, because I was thinking and listening to my friends here. What was driving mainly in the past the digital transformation was mainly big data and AI adoption. And there is a great report prepared by Thomas Davenport, which we probably all know. So one of the fathers of adoption of big data and AI in modern companies. And it was really funny because when I'm listening to you, it made me realize one thing, and that's for a discussion. So the numbers from the last year report, so pre-COVID world, were pretty easy to understand. Like as far as I remember, around 92% of managers were investing in AI. Of Forbes 500, I should add, were investing in AI to help increase agility and competitiveness, as well as they all agreed that if they don't do it, 75% of them said that it will disrupt their current advantage. On the same time, it was really funny because 2/3 of these companies were struggling to make ROI on these investments. Only 1/3 of them were calling themselves data-driven, and almost 80%, as far as I remember, were struggling with adoption of big data and AI projects. And 95% of them agreeing that it was the people's factor, the human factor, that it was included. So, thought, when I'm listening to you, pre-COVID digital transformation, when I'm thinking about it, was mainly from the top of the companies, so from the up downwards, and what might be after COVID will be from the bottom of the company going upwards, because it will be forced on the companies to undergo the digital transformation, adoption of new tools, new processes, etc., etc.
All right. Andrzej, any different view?
Point.
Or Michał?
Indifferent. Okay, so maybe to add a pinch of salt. So I don't believe that the drivers of the digital transformation has changed. But indeed, COVID definitely is an accelerator. And that mainly disrupted in the first place workplace as we know it. However, it created lots of opportunities in other areas, and irrespective of the business and industry. And I believe the examples given by Emilia are a perfect example in here. But what is changing? So due to the wide and global impact and fact that vast majority of population was somehow impacted by COVID, it puts everyone on the same boat, and that unifies user experience and turns the perception of tech from disruptor to enabler. And I couldn't agree more that if that would hit us 10, 15 years ago, we would be in much more difficult situation that we were today. And personally, for me, it wasn't a big challenge to adapt to working from home, even 100% of the time, because we had already all the tools in place. And that was mainly flip in the approach to the work, how we understand workplace, whether this face-to-face interaction is must-have or nice to have. Even if it's must-have, how to substitute it with different tools and techniques. So as a result, I believe that we increase trust in technology, in digital solutions, and that will increase appetite to leverage them even more. And coming back to what Wojtek said, that will be bottom up. That will be indeed within the organization, but still the driver will be the same, and also be customer expectations and behaviors. And we as companies, irrespectively of the industry, will have to adapt to them.
All right. Thank you, Andrzej. I think, Michał, I saw that you meant to chip in as well.
Yeah, being a father of 4, working with multiple, let's say, younger generation consultants right now, I think the bottom-up approach is not only the fact that we will not have to go through board level or directors level to convince people to do the digital transformation, but in 2, 3, 4 years' time, which is basically now, the push to ensure that an employer where the young generation wants to live is 100% digital and really plugged into their new lifestyle will be tremendous. And I think the change within the transformation is going into this direction. So yes, it will be bottom up, but also it will be focusing on this human aspect as well. And I think we all need to reconsider how we run our businesses to make sure that we really, really catch up as fast as possible.
Thanks. Before I go to the next question, one kind request to our listeners. If you would like to ask a question, please use the chat window and I'll be happy to convey the question to our listeners, but also please state whom you would like the question to be asked. I'll go next.
Maybe one additional build, if I can, because I think we touched one important aspect. And I am coming from the organization which I'm accountable for the IT for more than 1,000 people. Majority of them are 90% of that organization is non-IT. And that gives me an insight that what I am constantly now working on is to drive digital fluency. Because I think part of the digital transformation is exactly as Wojtek mentioned, the bottom-up approach would be crucial to adapt and to be adapting to the new realities fast with the growth mindset, with the digital fluency. So regardless the function, we want to ensure that people are equipped with the capabilities, they can do hands-on work, no matter their IT. I wanted to share this. I'm not sure if this is similar with your areas of responsibilities, but this is something that I personally consciously focusing on. So cybersecurity awareness training, digital fluency like BI solutions, which no matter the function, I do believe each of us should leverage the latest and greatest insights gathering to be able to gather the data fast and provide the right actions.
Good. Well, Emilia, you mentioned 2 things which I meant to touch next, because on the one hand side, we've got a huge adoption of cloud technologies. So the question is, does this make our business really resilient to crises like COVID? And secondly, is cybersecurity, because we are the first one to mention it just a minute ago, is it really a showstopper? Because you guys are rushing ahead. In the next couple of years, we will implement this, and that. But where is the security in all of this? Who wishes to take on the challenge of addressing this question?
I have a passion to cybersecurity, so I can start. I think like many companies, P&G relies extensively on IT system, network solutions to run the businesses, right? And we see that the threats are rapidly growing, and I think COVID has accelerated as well different threats that were not introduced in the past, or accelerate the ones that have not been as such size as they are today. So I think it is important that part of the digital transformation is the part about cybersecurity in various dimensions, starting from monitoring, detections, building awareness, as I mentioned, within the organization, how to be cyber hero. This is how we call it here. So I think this is definitely the focus area, and this is something that each of the company is consciously focusing on, I believe.
Thank you. Michał, your take on cloud versus cyber in combination with digital transformation?
Yeah, I'll try to tackle both at the same time because I think it's interconnected. So, first of all, I'm becoming a real fan of cloud, having understood in the last years how much it brings to us. But actually, it also creates more threats. So just think of the way a cloud project right now is looking, right? You take an accelerator to any system. Let's say you're implementing a banking system from Norway. Then you take a bit of a core system which is cloud-based from, I'm just shooting right now, Germany, and combine it with an integration layer which is coming from another place. You put it onto a cloud, and then you make sure that it all works for any company. And then what my cyber colleagues keep telling me, and actually that's also why we're combining the teams right now for my firm when we're going to the customers, is that cyber is shifting left. It's just like performance testing was shifting left in terms of starting from the very beginning of any project, any transformation, rather than being the gateway of when we finish and when we go live, when we actually implement the solution. The kind of thinking which right now for me is becoming absolutely normal. So a cyber team being a part of a big transformation is a must. But also with the growing awareness of how cyber threats are touching each of us, I think it will be just normal for everyone coming forward. Specifically, it changes the moment a company or a person is in any way being threatened by the cyber attack. Right? I had this issue. Personally, I see my customers having those issues with their businesses. The moment it happens, you understand that first you need to think cyber, and then make sure that it is part of your digital journey.
Understood. But you're telling me that cybersecurity should should be at the very beginning of the digital journey rather than at the end, and it's not just anymore a tick box exercise. Yes. But
it's not a gate; it's a part of a transformation.
Got it. Wojtek, what do you think? Agreement?
I think again, yes, but, and what I'm thinking of is cloud is the way we think about it is just at the moment a collection of good practices and tools which are available instantly for us, which is of course something we all share. But there is also a human factor, and I spoke about the adoption of AI and big data solutions. And as you know, for example, from my perspective, most of the techniques and AI algorithms were already in the market 5-10 years ago. You may be calling them mathematical statistical approach, but it was already there in many of the tools. And a lot of, in many of the tools that we had in our stack. Though, how many of us really had something like that in the production environment? That's I was very closely to many adoptions of digital transformation and AI big data technologies in many companies, and I pretty understand the picture. But there is something else that COVID introduced. A human, how important is the human factor, and I will come back to the point that I raised in the beginning, that we're going to also change the way we think about digital transformation and the cloud. And I think it's also a good time to introduce something what we call the human cloud, and exactly the way the companies will work. We believe it will be also around the human cloud concept, because. Think of what happened, for example, in India just 2 months ago. We know of the case of one of the partners that we're talking to. It's a very large EU bank, had the core IT competences center, 2,500 people in India. Now, what happened in India, as you know, people were shut down in their homes just overnight. We in the country with really low adoption of broadband internet, and most of the people working on desktops. So pretty much this company lost all of its talents around IT and operations. Guess what it means to the company. So security in the post-COVID world will be something much more different. And I believe we will be going in the direction of introducing new models of the businesses as a part of our contingency plans. So making sure that our company is actually made of a grid rather than centers of excellence, and shutting down one part of the grid doesn't shut the whole company, which was the case here. So I just wanted to propose a much broader thinking of the digital transformation and the security of digital transformation.
Thanks. And ultimately, Andrzej, security at a bank, super important, is it? But how important is it nowadays along to your digital transformation journey?
Yeah, I was silent because my view can be a bit biased because still vast majority of my career was in cybersecurity. So for me personally, it was always important, and nothing has changed in here. However, indeed, we have much broader adoption of digital tools. More and more spheres of our lives are at the moment online, are somewhere in a cyberspace. And all of us need to some extent become cybersecurity at least aware, and maybe even experts. Like if you would ask 20 years ago about public key infrastructure, most probably we would find some people who understand the concept. Right now, the expectation is that we all will be using digital signatures. So maybe we will not be familiar with the details behind it, but we need to understand what the signature means, what kind of authority it gives, and what actually it confirms and what it's not. So security as a function in the company needs to be an enabler. Otherwise, they will not exist. Their function will be replaced by someone else who will be more agile and plugged into the bottom line, will have more skin in the game, and will be really embedded in the development of the product at given company. So obviously, again, concepts of DevOps teams in IT and DevSecOps are not new, but I believe that was something that's considered as nice to have in most of the companies. Now, more and more companies will be looking at this as must-have, otherwise they won't be able to keep up the pace with the market, and they won't be able to hit time-to-market expectations that we have at the moment. How quickly we need to change our products, how quickly we need to deploy them. It's unprecedented, and we experienced that in the banks over the last 3 months, and actually in the first 6 weeks of COVID. We deployed 4 new products in the UK. And historically speaking, most probably you would spend 6 months to deploy one. So for us, it was really rapid change in approach to developing new products, approaching the governance around it. And in the end, when we made the evaluation, whether we incurred any more risks due to the speed, the conclusion was no. We maintained all the controls, all the testing to make sure that whatever is being released is fit for purpose, but we did it much, much faster. And I believe that was mainly to the fact that more people understood the concept, and that kind of risk culture was already embedded in the way how they operate.
Thank you, Andrzej. So an incredible journey of acceleration. Guys, we are running out of time, but I mean to ask this last question, and it's 3 statements, not sentences, but please just statements answer from every single one of you. What are the 3 digital transformation trends in the upcoming 3 years? We start from the end this time. Wojtek.
Okay, so I will come back to my beginning of one of my first points. So from my perspective, I do believe digital transformation will be something totally different than we think at the moment. And the way I look at the world at the moment, the pandemic is far from just showing itself at the full. So we need to stay very open, stay very sharp, and adopt. It's more than just a VUCA world. And it's time for super innovations. Before, there were only Bill Gates foreseen something like that happened, and there are no good rules, no playbooks that we can use, nothing that taught us in schools. So from my perspective, that's one thing. You need to act very, very quickly and adopt very, very quickly. So invest in the processes and people so we can use that, because the technology is already there, as we agreed. And the second, I think, of digital transformation is far more than just the technology. It's our lives. Yeah. So it's our lives, and our companies.
Thank you. Andrzej? 3 words.
3 words. So when it comes to upcoming trends, so that will be continued on artificial intelligence and machine learning deployments. I believe more and more people will trust it and will give it a try. COVID, in my view, will accelerate also immersive technology, so virtual reality and all products that we may classify as immersive technologies, approach to how the events are run, concerts, sport events, and also how we organize ourselves at work. And when it comes to industry, that will be significantly changed. I will get back to Emilia said as her experience as a parent. That will be education industry. I believe that will change dramatically comparing to what we know from our school time.
Thank you very much. Michał, please. The 3 trends in the next 3 years of PT.
Well, first of all, it's globalization of how quickly we can innovate and get new solutions up and running for any company. It is connected to cloud, but it's also connected to how right now it's easy and accessible components built in any country to our specific needs as customers of this. So globalization of IT solutions is one. And second is distribution of work will be completely different. It's not purely the result of digital transformation, but what I'm seeing right now, and it will accelerate immensely, is just as much as the IT part is global. It will be a part of how we build our teams and how we globalize the projects, the efforts, and the businesses we're running using technology.
Thank you. And last but not least, Emilia, please.
Yes, I can only echo what my colleagues has shared. I would only mention one that was not mentioned and maybe linked to the distributed work that Michał has mentioned. It's about the blockchain and the power that is coming behind this. As we are living in we are managing different complex networks with our banks, with our transportation, all of different providers. To make it simplified and to make it through the smart contracts, I think this is the future that many companies like P&G is now investing to look on the different ways how we can better effectively manage this into this globalization times.
Thank you very much. I know the topic was very broad. We could be talking here on and on for hours, but we have run out of time. It was an absolute delight to moderate this discussion with such wonderful speakers. So one more time, thank you very much, Emilia, Michał, Andrzej, and Wojtek for the great panel discussion. I look forward to talking to you shortly. For all the listeners, thanks for dialing in, and I encourage you to join the digital forum tomorrow as well. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Stay safe. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Stay healthy.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.